After a post-New Year's Dash rest, New Japan is back this week with 3 shows in the general Tokyo area as part of the Road to New Beginning. We'll preview each of them. We'll take a look at some names that have been announced for the New Beginning in the USA show that's coming up in February. And our beloved Rampage Dragon got married. So, a few things to talk about this week. It'll be an interesting one. With Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking of Strong Style. We discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. We didn't have any events this week, but we have some news and issues. Jeremy, how did you spend your week off? Did you relax? I watched a lot of other stuff this week. I just kind of took in the general Japanese wrestling scene. How did you spend the week off from New Japan live events?
Brother, I got to tell you, the jet lag was real, and I spent a lot of my week trying to recover from that.
It is
I'm
real.
Just about back to normal and everything. But, just life, to-do list, had to take care of stuff coming back from, January. January, you got stuff to do in the household, cleaning up and organizing. And basically, I had a lot of life maintenance to-dos getting to done, Stephen.
All right. Well, we have Brad is with us. Glad to see you.
Hello,
Jeremy is with us. Jeremy, and he has a question for us that we will get to a little bit later. Good one, too. Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to wish Brad's kid a happy birthday. I don't want to put any extra info out there, but happy birthday to them, and I hope they had a good one.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. So, yeah. So, I guess the news of the week, though, before we get to anything else.
It's not a birthday.
It wasn't a birthday. Shingo Takagi got married, and this one came out of the blue. I have to say that not a lot of people were aware that this was a relationship going on. Oh, Venkin's here, too. Good. But, yeah, Natuspoi from Stardom has married Shingo Takagi, and most of us didn't even know they were together. Isn't that cool?
Well, what did I say? Adorable. The dragon got dragon tamed. You know what I mean? Like, we found someone that can tame the dragon. The joke writes itself, but in all honesty, they both look very happy. They look so incredibly pleased with each other. Steven, I got to tell you, I find it absolutely hilarious in hindsight that we had a match with Goto and Shingo back in Dominion.
Yeah.
It was all centered around Goto clowning Shingo that he didn't have a family, and he couldn't hold the title because he didn't have anything. He didn't have anyone tying him down or anything like that. And it turned out to be a rib because they've been dating since late 2024.
Yeah, apparently so. Apparently they were already together at that point, but it was a kick to his bachelorhood has been sort of part of his in-ring persona for a while. And so just to remind everybody, what happened was Goto, of course, was tied to his family with the passing of his father, which led to him dedicating some matches to him, and then his kids being at ringside for a lot of his run last year to the World Heavyweight title. And then, of course, his kids were often in the front row for some of the biggest matches. And his match against Shingo Takagi, he played that up, and Shingo played into it, saying that, hey, I'm single. I don't have a family to disappoint. The pressure's not on me. It's all on you. And of course, Goto came back with I have their support, which makes me stronger. And of course, Goto ended up winning. In post-match comments, he said, "I hope you find yourself a wife soon." As it turns out, this was prophetic, and apparently not long after, Jeremy, he proposed to Natsupoi. That was, I guess, he took the Goto was already tongue-in-cheek taking credit for this on his socials.
Truth is stranger than fiction sometimes. No, seriously, everybody, this is all free. You can find it on YouTube. You can go to the press conference and the backstage comment from Dominion 2025. It's all right there. It's hilarious in hindsight that this all played out the way that it did. And the fact that it actually did angles on New Japan television that played into things that either did or did not, causation and causality and whatever you want to suppose, one causing the other or vice versa. In all honesty, Shingo could have been like, yeah, I'm dating this girl. If you guys want to do this angle, we'd probably get a kick out of it. You know what I mean? Like, they're looking for whatever to like sell these matches, and Goto and Shingo, in all honesty, will get to sell itself. So you might as well just have fun with the angle you're going to take with it.
Yeah. And the other thing that happened, I don't know if you remember this, Jeremy. This was kind of a little aside, but there was a Christmas show. I think Dragon Gate did it. It was actually on Christmas Day. I think it was Dragon Gate at
Sure.
Korakuen Hall, and Shingo showed up as a surprise. I don't mind Dragon Gate. It might have been DDT. It was one of the smaller companies, and Shingo showed up as a surprise. And there was this moment on the microphone where they were looking at him like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And he just said, "I'm a single man in my 40s on Christmas. What the hell else am I going to do?" He didn't have anywhere else to be, except those days are over. So, at Natuspoi. So I was looking at this, Jeremy, and of course, last year, Konosuke Takeshita, former IWGP champion, married Yuka Sakazaki from TJPW. So there's one other wrestling couple right there. There are others, but the one this reminds me of the most in a way is Kensuke Sasaki and Akira Hokuto, who in the 1990s got married. And what reminds me of it is that they're in very similar places within their organizations, in that Poi, one of the top performers in Stardom, and sometimes a main eventer, depending on the situation. She'd be a good challenger for any title in the company, right? She's an event level wrestler, as was Akira Hokuto, one of the mix there, and All Japan Women with Bull Nakano, Aja Kong, Manami Toyota, and that whole crew. And Kensuke Sasaki was an upper card wrestler for New Japan at the time as well. And not always the main event, but certainly capable of being in the main event. He was one half of the Power Warriors with Road Warrior Hawk when Road Warrior Animal had his back issues and couldn't wrestle because he had his Lloyds of London settlement there and couldn't. He was another guy that could challenge for a singles title as well. So looking at that, you have upper card guy for New Japan, the biggest men's company, top of the card level worker for All Japan Women, and Akira Hokuto, and now you basically have that same parallel with Shingo and Poi. So pretty cool. And of course, they both said they wanted kids, and so now the Stardom fans are sweating the countdown to Poi's announcement. But nothing announced as of yet. They had all the requisite pictures of them with Mount Fuji in the background, the pictures of the rings, and a very nice suit for Shingo Takagi on his wedding day. The dude looks sporty.
They both looked like they were very beautiful people looking their most beautiful on a beautiful day.
So I guess we're going to have little dragon fairies coming out of this one.
I don't know what you call them, Steven, but I'm going to call them children.
She's the fairy. She's a fairy.
No, I
he's
know.
The rampage
I'm
dragon.
going to come up with a term that's a little more streamlined than dragon fairy, because
it's a little clunky. It's a mouthful.
We can do better, but we will lose our entire audience if we do this on the air. So let me workshop some ideas behind the scenes, and I'll see if I come up with a better lingo for the fire wings, if you want to call them.
I bet there's something in children's literature about a fairy dragon.
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually going to go do the lore on it. I'm serious about this, but we will lose all our listenership otherwise.
Yeah, that's a digression even for us.
I absolutely agree. The one thing that I look at and I think about when you're talking about all this is not only in Japanese wrestling, but in all wrestling, it can be such a lonely lifestyle,
Sure.
And the fact that you can find somebody that understands intrinsically what you're doing on both ends, as a husband and as a wife, if you're on the same page, it is probably going to be one of the healthiest relationships that you could have going forward, because they'll understand more because they're in that like same tunnel. You know what I mean? Like they're walking parallel lives, and it makes it easier to hold hands.
I think that's a reason why quite a few performers are with other performers, just because of what you just said. If you go to a 9 to 5 all day, or each day on 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it's a challenge to understand the lifestyle. It's a challenge to understand travel and being gone away from home all the time. What that's
sacrifices
like. So,
and knowing that like it goes both ways, and like if you have to sacrifice, you understand that the other person is also going to return that sacrifice in some way. Like everybody does what they have to do for the best of the relationship. That kind of thing, I like. That's good.
So I checked around with some other people that are in the know about stuff, and almost no one knew about this. They kept, and I was saying that. Well, I agree. What I'm saying is that Shingo and Poi should hold a seminar for other wrestlers to how to keep the lid on things
They
successfully.
probably talked to Keshia and Yuka about how they did it, because that also caught everyone like, oh, no kidding. Oh, adorable, cute, awesome. You know what I mean?
But you hear so much about people saying that, you know, the fans are too much in my business and things like that, and yet these two carry on a relationship for almost what is a year and a half and all that without before getting married. No one knew about it. They should give lessons. It can be done.
I know about relationships in wrestling, but it's that aren't public knowledge.
Sure.
But the whole idea is like, it doesn't make my job better, and I'm not better at a podcaster because I out somebody's like personal life, you know, like no, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I'm thankful that we have like a culture in New Japan wrestling and in Puro in general that's just like, okay, it's not germane to the conversation, and people don't actively like seek out this kind of knowledge, and they can live their life in a bit more privacy in Japan.
But big congratulations to them. I hope they're happy. I hope it works out.
Yeah,
it's terrific. Yeah, I think we're all rooting for both of them. Both of them are very, you know, it's one of those things where, with the exception of that ugliness in the Dragon's Gate dojo that happened a few years ago, Shingo has had a mostly good reputation within the business, and Poi is pretty much spotless. And there have been no incidences since that awful dojo thing. You know, there have been nothing since anyway. So hopefully that's all behind him. And
I mean, we don't know what was done behind closed doors to make things right, and what things Shingo did or didn't do. But if people that you believe are a good judge of character believe he has good character, it's good enough for me.
Yeah, and Poi is well liked and things. One of my favorite reactions to it was Sari, who was generally acknowledged as being one of Poi's best friends in real life. Had a picture of the two of them on the wedding, and she's looking back at the camera, is like, "What the hell?" As if she was unaware, like the rest of us, which of course is silly. But it was a funny little bit that because everyone was just kind of like, "Oh crap," like you said. It's
cool. I'm glad that they were able to reveal the relationship on their own terms. You know, everything about it. I'm glad that when this news is coming out, the pictures of them are smiling. They're happy. They did it on their terms, and now they're moving forward, and everyone knows. Perfect. This is how it should be.
Venkin mentions a couple things here that are funny. So Poi did mention on the press conference, take long rides from the center of cities. That's probably peaceful. That's nice. And then Venkin also just says a 2-hour Shingo gym session during a date, though. Well, hey, you know, you gotta stay in shape. You got to work out. These guys are pretty much addicted to that.
They have ways to keep limber.
Well, you know, it's one of those things where you know it's part of the job, those gym sessions. I'm going to ignore that. Trying to nice, respectable program here. But yes, no, I'm happy for them. Congratulations to them. We'll see. I'm curious to see the reaction the next time they have live shows, if the crowd's going to acknowledge it in some way. I think it'll be fun if they do.
I'm sure they'll have a tongue-in-cheek moment somewhere where it's like, oh, everyone, like it happened in Vegas, you know, if they both happen to be in Vegas for all the convention stuff happening in April. I've got no doubt that there'll be a bunch of people popping if they're in the ring together. You know, I mean,
they're both back in action this weekend. The New Japan will be back in the Blue Justice show that we're going to talk about in a bit. And Jeremy Orr asked if that show is worth watching. And we're going to get to that in just
every
a
show
moment.
Worth watching, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, and there's another reason, but we'll give you specifics. How about that? And I'll get to your question also about what the best New Japan book is so far. And
he asked me. I was like, just ask Steven.
But yeah, so a Blue Justice, and of course Stardom is coming back this weekend as well. Had some rough week in some ways for Stardom in that.
What happened with Bozilla?
That doesn't look good. Knee. It looks like she may have torn up her knee a little bit, and well, maybe not even a little bit. We don't really know for sure. But
she was on a run, and she's not on a run anymore.
Yeah, and that's too bad because she was really doing well in Stardom, and was a real bright point in their shows.
To her then.
Yeah, I hope that she heals up. And found out that Saki Kashima is going to retire at All Star Grand Queendom, and I just don't know what to do about that. I'm so upset. Saki's wonderful character of the coward of the county, you know, like she is the one that hides and has that kill shot of a roll up that always works pretty much. She's the one that will run and hide, tag her partners and disappear for a while, and then come into the ring, hit a roll up and win the match. Just like that kind of thing to drive everybody nuts. And she does it in a fun way. But it looks like Saki is stepping away from the ring, and that'll be in Yokohama in April, it's a loss. She's in her 30s, and from what I have heard, has her eye on another career after wrestling. And again, good for her. Anyone who is smart enough to take care of themselves after the business is all right with me, and I think it's a wise decision to prepare for life after wrestling. It sounds like she's ready to take that next step.
I remember not a limited amount of punches on their bump card, and as long as she's able to walk away and do something else, I'm glad that you enjoyed your time watching her in the ring.
Yeah, and let's see, and Maki Ito, former AEW and AEW, has debuted for Stardom, so it was a big week for the Bushi Road, the Joshi style side of Bushi Road, and then they're back out there this week.
The two-fingered soldiers there.
You're still doing it, yeah, and still singing her way out to the ring right there. And as Brad mentioned, the instead of we have the high speed genius in Koguma, our slow speed queen is hanging it up, and he's not okay.
I want to ask you this in all honesty, and I don't know if this is the right podcast for it, but we got a little bit of time here. Maki Ito in Stardom. Is this going to be a case of she is going to get better because of being in Stardom, or Stardom is going to slow down to accommodate her?
I think she's improved quite a bit since the mess of her AEW appearances, which were cringy to say the least. But she's been in TJPW, and there is talent in TJPW. She's a better wrestler than she was back then, and she will improve with Stardom. There's no question. And I think that the iron will sharpen the iron, and she'll get better. I don't think that the Stardom wrestlers will need to slow down that much. They'll bring her along. How about that? They'll bring her along. Against the top level workers, she will be the one being carried. No question about that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's as much lifting as it would have been 2-3 years ago.
And I think never been in the Stardom dojo. She's never trained with them.
I hate to do that because I'm not the Stardom scholar that I am on.
Right, but it's just like this is really the first time she's going in the Stardom ring on like a tour as Maki Ito.
Correct. Yeah,
the one that we like, the iteration that we currently know. This is a first time run kind of thing for her.
Yeah, exactly. You'd start them there. Jeremy is asking, what age do you think most wrestlers should retire in general? And that really varies from person to person.
There's no age.
I'm gonna punt on that one. It's whatever your body's telling you, and you should probably listen. You should almost always listen to it before it starts yelling at you, which is when most wrestlers retire until it screams so much they're deaf and they literally can't get in the ring anymore. But they should listen to their bodies a little more.
There are people that are hitting their peak at the time where 40 years ago people were told to hang it up because they're too old. Yeah. And granted, the way that you put the mileage on your bodies back then versus the care that people put on them now, and honestly, the progress in medical health and recuperating from injuries has changed the game. But I mean,
well, there's a big give and take in there, Jeremy, on that. And when you look at, let's take somebody from the 70s or the 80s. Today, nutrition, we know far more about it, how to keep your body in good shape, right? Well, we're far better with rest and recovery, hydration. All that stuff wasn't really a thing in the 70s and as much in the 80s. That's all in the good category. It can make your career last longer, right? Surgery is far better than it was. Way better, better than it was 10 years ago, let alone all the way back then. That type of thing can extend your career. But here's the big one. Back then, they worked a lot, 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
But they worked a very different style.
Hogan famously worked 400 days a year.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Hogan was a time traveler, as he has said. Hogan.
Okay.
He got hit in the head more than I thought. The point is, though, today, guys are working a much, much more brutal style on their own bodies, the bumps and everything else. Like Nick Bockwinkel wrestling brilliantly into his late 40s, early 50s. that's difficult now with this style to make it that far. I mean, look at the people who staggered to the ring, and I don't mean because they were messed up on anything, but because their bodies are destroyed. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay on neck surgery, Naito can't walk, they can barely walk. And it's the style today makes it much harder and shortens careers, just as medical science tries to make them longer.
Yeah, I didn't really expect this question to come up, in all honesty.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about this a lot. A lot was watching all of those legends come down to the ring, and they were absolutely fucking wrecked. Like Omega and Ibushi, wrecked coming down to the ring. Ospreay, he looked like he was holding it together, but in real life, like that dude had a long day, it felt like, and he was
might not be able to come back.
Constantly in pain. Like it just felt like, he was gutting out a really like tough day, and just not like he was gonna do anything to be there, and rightly so. And I applaud him, but I'm also gonna tell you, I saw him many, many times from feet away, and that dude looked like he was not having the best day. You know what I mean? Like it was just like you gut it out kind of day. And I just think about all this, and I think about, man, I really hope that Jay White and Okada, when they hang it up with their style of wrestling, their body isn't as wrecked as some of these other guys who have absolutely like put it to the max just to hang. And we can't do this with all the top talent. Like we can't watch this strong style and not be overly concerned with the damage that these people have put on their bodies, and not like have to weigh the consequences of that. I think about that far more than I care about whether the House of Torture sucks or not. You know what I mean? Like that kind of mindset of just like, what role am I taking in all of this by going on air and talking about how awesome this match was when they nearly kill each other? And there's that you weigh, and there's a compounding thing where you just feel like you have that responsibility. And watching all these guys coming down the ring, and knowing that I've seen all of them live just absolutely blow away the crowd, but you also do that like, oh God, that bump, but you just kind of move on with everything. They feel that for God knows how long, and it's just tough sometimes.
That's why the shots to the head bother me far more than they used to as well. The cognitive problems that causes. Sure. I don't like when they start slapping the crap out of each other at all, because that's a real concussive blow to the head. That is true. And it's why I get so mad about what Shibata did that almost killed him, and was very, very reckless toward his opponent, Okada, who put trusted his body to him. And I think Shibata abused that trust and almost killed himself in the process with doing dumb stuff. And I'll just say it was unintelligent for Shibata to do some of that stuff. And there are other things like that are really stupid that the guys do sometimes. And it's like, stop hitting each other in the head like that. It's supposed to be a work. Knock it off. And then, you see some of the stuff like Jeremy Orr mentioned and Venkin mentioned that they think the 40s is in your 40s is a good time to retire. But I'll counter with this. Look at somebody. It is because look at Minoru Suzuki, who is in his 50s. Yeah. And but works a style that doesn't involve falling off the top rope on his head all the time. Like everybody is doing in New Japan sometimes. Mm-hmm. And certainly in the American companies, these guys are destroying their bodies like crazy. And I was looking at this too. I was watching Lucha, and it occurred to me while I've been watching a lot of Lucha Libre too, how few, not zero, how few flat back bumps luchadors take. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of dives. Yes. And Neon hurt himself pretty badly. That is dangerous. I'm not trying to say that they work a safe style, but when they do the dives, it's almost always onto somebody catching them. Even when they jump off the top rope into the ring, it's almost always on someone catching. It's because their rings are hard as rocks. But because lucha rings have roots in being boxing rings as well that don't have any give. So that's why you get the tumbling bumps, the rolling bumps, a lot of somersaults in lucha. The dives are to the outside. You don't see a whole lot of flying elbow drops, not zero, but you don't see a lot of them in lucha. And fewer flat back bumps than you see in American wrestling. Not a lot of power bombs because of those damn rings. But it's that working style, though. These guys, it's so hard on these guys' bodies that you're seeing people that are way too young to be moving like that. These guys are moving like 60-year-old NFL players.
I mean, I think about Sting, like where you feel like there's an obvious like limit where you absolutely can't go in the ring anymore. You shouldn't be in the ring. And then I see a guy like Sting that absolutely like tears it up when he goes in the ring in his 60s. And you're just like, okay, there are ways to do this where you can't say no to somebody if they can like reasonably entertain the crowd and everybody's happy with it. You have guys in New Japan like Tiger Mask that are, way in their 50s. They're retiring, but, like they can still do what needed to be done on an undercard of a show. If we're talking about like on a main event level, Naito needs to hang it up like yesterday. He can no longer go, and the idea that he is going to be viable in a top act in a top promotion, after what I've seen in person, after everything that they say that he was doing, like he was gonna get, his hair done, he was gonna get his knees fixed, all that. Like he was the same Naito. He was just worse in Noah.
Yeah.
It's
right.
not going to get better, and counting on these, some of these guys at this point to stabilize the future is not the way to go. Mm-hmm. But like retiring, that's up to them. It's just where their viability is in building promotions going forward is no longer at the top earning level.
Anything can happen at any time, but I feel like Zack Sabre Jr. is another guy who could, if he works his current style, wrestle into his 50s.
Absolutely.
He just doesn't do a lot of splattering himself. That's not to be discounted that he just doesn't splatter himself. So it's different for every person.
Smart. He could make money into his 50s just being scary Zack Sabre Jr. that, who will turn you into a pretzel without a sweat, even at like 48. You know what I mean? He just could.
Well, look how smart Toru Yano is, who after being a very violent wrestler with Great Bash heel,
right?
Adopted this style, and he could do this all day, every day until he's 70, and not really change a whole lot. A couple of comments I do want to get to right there is Venkin mentions he thinks that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy. Before
I said, let's do it. The comments.
Venkin said, I do think Tam took the ideal time to retire, despite how much he misses her. Brad mentioned something. Here's a guy. Action Mike Jackson. Love Mike Jackson. Still working in his 70s, going on 50 years in the business. Mike Jackson was an enhancement wrestler on TBS and on Mid-South and all the Southern territories. He also trained wrestlers, and he would load up a car of them and take them to TV tapings, like in Atlanta or in Shreveport, Louisiana for Mid-South. And he did, I think, Alabama for the Fullers and Southeastern Wrestling. And he would take his little merry band of trainees down there, and they would do the TV jobs. They would be the guy, the other guys, right? The guy, and the enhancement talent. And Mike Jackson was a fabulous worker, a really, really good worker, and still works fairly well. But again, we're talking
apparently is
still is into his 70s. And George South, by the way, another one that ain't half bad still to this day. But again, not a guy that took incredible bumps. Not a guy that was getting thrown off the top ropes and things like that and taking power bombs, just somebody that just worked an intelligent, safe style. And times change. You can't wrestle like they did in the 70s and 80s now and entertain the crowd. It's a different world. I promise I do understand that. I would like there to be a bit of a happy medium between the constant landing on the head and this. You remember, Jeremy, we have said on this show that we have watched Tetsuya Naito, Kota Ibushi matches through our fingers, like hands over our eyes and things like that, because we're scared. Those two in particular used to do horrible things to one another in the ring. And sometimes the trust was a little high between the two of them. And they would just take terrible bumps on the top of their head. And I would sit there and watch the stuff and think, guys, you can't keep doing this. It's just not going to work out. I mean,
well, it didn't work out. Look at them. No. They were both like Ibushi came back and he wasn't quite himself. And he was just faking it till he made it. And he took a bump that he wasn't prepared to take. And now we're where we're at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, this
Couple
was
more.
all avoidable. These guys just have to be told no. You know what I mean? Like, Darby Allin has to be told no sometimes. Ibushi has to be told no. Like,
You see the thing with
guys just have to be
his
told
brother
no.
setting his brother on fire. Darby Allin's, I mean, I like Darby. What a dumbass thing to do. Good Lord. What an
I
idiot.
worry so much about that dude. Like, I watch him, and he's another one I just feel complicit in watching. You know, like, I don't. Anyways,
Jordan.
It's different with every wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, when we're no longer comfortable watching them in the ring, then it's time to hang it up.
Jordan from Canada said some nice things, by the way, Jordan. I really appreciate some of the comments you made there earlier. But he said that just saying that he appreciates the stream and he likes the show. So thank you, Jordan.
I appreciate
He also says the fans don't want to see people permanently hurt. Absolutely correct. Jordan goes on to say there are a lot of please don't die chants during ladder matches. And some of that's some of that, and only a little bit, though, is tongue in cheek. I mean, I really think that there are times when they're setting up, I call them cheerleader towers, which when AEW does this a lot, so does WWE. This isn't but where a guy goes in a corner and two other people go in the corner and someone power bombs their own partner. It's asinine. It's stupid. And they do all these stupid cheerleading spots. That's what they are. If you watch the series Cheer on Netflix, that's what the Young Bucks and what the Usos, they do all this crap. And it's just a big cheerleading tower that they do. But everybody splatters at the end. And it means nothing to the match. And I'm just like,
Steven, big bumps are cool.
Oh,
man. The thing that I don't like about ladder matches is when there's a guy that very clearly does not like ladders in a ladder match. I think the one that I last think of is Damian Priest in a ladder match. I think for like the Money in the Bank. And so you're just like, he is not about it at all. And he doesn't want anything to do with it. And he is doing the bare minimum to show that he is participatory. But it was like ladder matches were not what he was into at all.
You know what was the thing when I was a kid? And I promise we're going to talk about New Japan eventually, but I'm having fun with this. When a thing that I was a kid that thank God is gone from wrestling, the scaffold matches. Do you remember scaffold matches way back in the day?
I do, and I remember they were dumb.
Yeah, well, they were, and they weren't good. And there's no way to have a good match on top of a scaffold, but it was supposed to be this air of danger. But some of these guys were afraid of heights, didn't want to go up there, and two of them,
like
not that they were
something while they have fear is a great way for something to go wrong.
Well, Barbarian and the Warlord, the Powers of Pain, right? Were in working for Crockett, and they had them in a feud with the Road Warriors where they beat the hell out of the Road Warriors. And then they were going to have a series of scaffold matches with the Road Warriors. And Barbarian and Warlord looked at each other and just going, well, they're not going to throw Hawk and Animal off the thing. That means we're the ones that are going to be taking the bump. And they went to WWF, left town. That was it. Didn't do the matches. They just said, piss on this. I'm out. And I think that was probably the smartest moves they ever made in their careers, because God knows the Midnight Express took that pounding of losing a bunch of scaffold matches over time. Jim Cornette destroyed his own knee taking his one bump off a scaffold, let alone what poor Bobby Eaton, Dennis Condrey, and such did. So it's those scaffold matches. Yeah, exactly. Jordan from Canada, poor Jim Cornette's knees. Yeah. What's that?
Wrestlers are not stunt people.
Well, they are. That's the problem, isn't it?
But like, they're bumps. Like, they're taking bumps. They're not doing stunts. Like, there's a difference here, you know?
Yeah, stunts are better thought out, and they're better prepared for them, and there are more safety measures for stunts.
Like, when you do a stunt in pro wrestling, you see all the padding. You see all the preparation that goes into it when, you know, like, they have a prepared bump that somebody does off of the top of an entryway to the ring area, you know, and like they have the fake spark that like go flying that are prepared to do like that's a stunt. The wrestlers are taking bumps. Like, wrestlers are not stunt people inherently.
Yeah, but Jeremy says AEW scares them sometimes, and New Japan too. More holes, less high spots. Yeah, it's hard. I hope there's a medium, and I think there is a way to work smarter and not just more spectacularly. Which
anyone that goes through a table in New Japan scares me immediately. I see all that metal like shavings on the other side of those tables, and I'm just like, just one time, and it's going to get gnarly.
Yeah. Well, that Gabe Kidd match was a great example of it, where they went through the table with Desperado's partner Ishikawa, and he goes through the table, blades himself, cuts his forehead, bleeding all over the place. He's smash through the table, and then he gets up and goes on offense. It meant nothing. It meant nothing to the match.
Loud man.
Didn't change anything. It was just a bump he didn't have to take and another slice on his forehead he didn't have to do. And that's the kind of stuff we could do without in wrestling.
Yeah.
And I love Julia. Man, when she was in Stardom, she would blister people with headbutts, real ones. And I just like, knock that shit off. Nobody wants to see. No, we don't want to see that. We don't want to see these guys actually injure each other. It's a different world. You don't have to convince people that it's real anymore. Like, we know that this is a work. We know it's a performance. Stop hurting each other. That's the thing. Jeremy just says Darby will break his neck if he keeps going this way. And
he's gonna do something.
Yeah, and Brad mentioned Zack Sabre Jr. could pull a Suzuki card and work that style for years. But he laughs when old wrestlers take 2 bumps in a match. People complain about that, but good. Work smarter, not harder. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Living off the vibe, getting your match paycheck. That's how we do it. Minoru Suzuki, he's got the hustle down. I love it. Every time he comes in and shows up for a match, and he does his little Minoru Suzuki thing. I watched him at that Noah show live. I was like, fucking pro. Came in, maybe took like 1 bump. Everything was all just like pushes and shoves. And I was just like, you're in, you're out. Didn't take the loss. Bye. Love it.
Did you see him cosplay Ikemen Jiro recently?
I did.
Yeah, it was so much fun. That guy's just living his best life now. Suzuki's doing whatever the hell he wants. No one can tell him what to do.
He's old man Suzuki, and whenever he shows up, people cheer. That's great life.
And a couple of things here. Both Brad and Benkin mentioned Stardom having everybody outside the ring when people do dives helps a lot. They jump into the big piles, not just their opponents, but also the ring attendants and things. They're protecting the people and their cushioning. I'm fine with it.
I generally think that is a lesson learned scenario rather than a best practice.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, maybe it was it's a best practice from a lesson learned, isn't it? That was,
correct.
That's a good point. There was probably a moment. It's one of those things where you see a warning sign that makes you go sideways.
Moving forward, this is going to be a best practice for this company. We do not want another of those situations happening.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So just
blame it on Roxy. Everybody can move on. It's fine.
Some general thoughts right there. The fun stuff. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention, by the way. Ooh. There is a neat little video on YouTube that was just uploaded. I just want to plug this because it gives you a little bit of insight that you don't always see. It was done by Shotzi Blackheart. You remember Shotzi from WWE, NXT, and all that? I
remember Shotzi Blackheart. I've seen Shotzi Blackheart live in the Bay Area many times.
I want to mention this because she has a vlog, as do a lot of wrestlers. And she had her first run in Japan. She did, I think, 3 matches for GCW not terribly long ago. And she edited together a little vlog of her trip to Japan. And the reason I want to put it over is you get some behind the scenes look at both Shinjuku Face and Korakuen Hall that you don't always get. She wrestled at Korakuen. She wrestled at Shinjuku Face. And she stayed in the Godzilla Hotel. There's a hotel in Shinjuku with a giant Godzilla head on it that breathes fire at night. Pretty cool. She stayed in that hotel, which has a Godzilla theme.
That's just kind of rad. I'm not.
Yeah, she goes to Nakano, which is a neighborhood in Tokyo with a lot of vintage toys and games stuff. But and she gets her Ribera jacket from the famous steakhouse, where foreign wrestlers, of course, a big status symbol is getting your Ribera Steakhouse jacket. In fact, if you notice, a lot of my profile pictures are me standing in front of Ribera Steakhouse.
I've heard of wrestlers that are very upset that they never got their Ribera steak jacket, despite other people in their lives getting.
Not everybody gets one.
It sounds awkward.
Not everybody gets one. So Shotzi did a match for GCW in which she bled. Maki Ito, as a matter of fact, used the pizza cutter on her and she bled. And what I loved about this, Jeremy, is she goes to Ribera with the blood still on her face, like dried blood on her face as her badge of honor. And that's how she goes to Ribera and gets her jacket. So she got her jacket with the blood still on. She made it very metal of her. But it's cool because you do get to see You get to see a little bit of the backstage areas that we don't normally get to see, a little bit of that. And then just overall, I think she did an excellent job of just showing what it's like to be in Japan as a wrestler. and runs into some people who know her, and some of the stuff that the fans make for her. A lot of those fans that you see at ringside with the pictures, and a lot of those are made by them. Those aren't souvenirs necessarily that you buy at the stand.
She's probably
they make their own.
Hugely popular in Japan, given her look, and with idol status there, she's probably killing it.
Yeah, she's doing well.
I love to mention this. The closest movie theater to my house is actually Godzilla themed. There's like a whole Godzilla setup. It's an Alamo Draft House, and when they decided to make it, they decided to just go wild with the Godzilla theme. And I'll probably have to
Austin's very own.
Well, that
Austin's very own.
Yeah, I'm very excited to go see the new Godzilla movie there this next year when it comes out. Godzilla -0.
So anyway, she goes to a couple of venues that you're probably familiar with, and it's worth taking a look at. And she does a good job. She's engaging in the thing, and interesting blog, worth your time. How about that?
Love it. All right, what do we got on the slate for all things New Japan now?
All right, so we are back on the road Sunday, so that we have shows Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 3 consecutive days. And this almost does it for the month of January. Apparently, they did a private show for Hiromu's school this week. One of Hiromu's old schools.
Fun.
Yeah, it does look like fun. Not available anywhere to see.
It was a 100-year anniversary of the opening, I believe. It's the reason that they decided to go and do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, the Unbound, was it the Unbound company?
That's their faction, yeah.
Yeah, that was the main event. They were, of course, and I think they went over in it, but that was it. So we have Blue Justice. So this is, of course, a show in Chiba, which is in greater metropolitan Tokyo. If you hear of Narita Airport is in Chiba. So some people that fly into Tokyo actually go into Chiba and take. I did the first time I went to Japan. We flew into Chiba.
Do you think Ren Narita only flies in through Narita Airport?
I would hope so. It would be weird seeing him in Haneda. But it's a lot closer, by the way. If you can fly into Haneda, fly into Haneda. But anyway, on January 18th, Sunday, Nagata is, of course, in the main event. He's the promoter. Usually does a good job promoting these shows. They usually get a pretty good crowd in Chiba. He'll be teaming with Toru Yano, Bolton, Oleg, and Aaron Wolf. Aaron Wolf, his third match. Now, we saw the first match at Wrestle Kingdom. Second match at New Year's Dash, he did a couple of judo throws, got beat down, thrown to the outside of the ring, and that was it. So we'll see what he does. And so, Jeremy Orr, you mentioned earlier, is Blue Justice worth watching? This show is mostly preview tags. It's mostly skippable, but I'm very curious to see what Aaron Wolf does in these Road to New Beginning, because he has a match with Narita coming up at New Beginning in Osaka, his first title defense of the Never Openweight title. He needs to learn a few things, a few more things. And like we mentioned last week, I'm fine with him if just doing the stuff he does well. The last thing in the world you want is for this guy to look ordinary. What I'm hoping is he's been in the dojo almost daily since then. And if he does 3 things in this match, great. If he does 4 things in his next match, good. Just build him up slowly. But I am curious to see where he is. To me, this match at least is worth watching just for him. On the House of Torture side, it's Narita, Evil, Yujiro Takahashi, and Dick Togo. So you can kind of see where this is going, because they have the House of Torture. I don't want to call them jobbers, but the guys that take the losses for House of Torture, the
pin eaters,
the least protected guys from House of Torture are in this match. And then you have Nagata, the hero, on the one side. Maybe his son will be at ringside again. Nagata's son is
it's a Blue Justice show. They're going to win the match in some way, shape, or form. It's probably going to be Aaron Wolf and Yuji Nagata in some way, like getting one over on Yujiro or Dick Togo, because you're still going to have to set up Ren and Aaron Wolf going forward. And so you want to make that still viable, but it's the Blue Justice show. It's, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't the night to have the heels go home.
No, certainly not. No. And Jordan from Canada mentions he loves Aaron Wolf's throws. He enjoys seeing him do that.
Yeah.
And Venkin does too. He says, I like that he throws people around. Well, you got to, it only makes sense to use it, right? I mean, geez, the guy's a star judo player. And then Brad mentions, I watched Kingdom with my dad on Sunday. Oh, cool. That's neat. And he loved Aaron Wolf. He's a big fan of Olympians becoming wrestlers. His favorite wrestler is Kurt Angle, and he had so much fun watching Aaron. Very good.
Good for Aaron Wolf. we all came in with this whole, is he going to be able to deliver? We're nervous about him. He had his first match, and people have turned a page. They are excited for seeing his next like opportunity. You know, he hasn't disappointed anybody up to this point. Good for him. Like, you can't like constantly scrutinize the guy. At some point, you have to just like say, hey, you know what? So far, so good. You're really doing that guy.
And there have been people who have taken to this like a fish to water. Jun Akiyama was a near Olympic level wrestler who became a really good professional immediately. Kurt Angle did. Wolf, not so much. He's more of a work in progress, but there have been other guys who have learned to become excellent wrestlers from starting from scratch and didn't necessarily do it all on one day. I got to say, Akiyama and Angle kind of did it all in one day. Like they were almost like their third match, they were great wrestlers. It was bizarre that within a few years, two people came up that were that good that quickly. It was pretty stunning. It hadn't really happened before like that. Everyone knew that Rocky Maivia was going to be a star. No one figured that he was going to be the friggin' Rock, right? But one of the biggest movie stars in the world. But everyone figured the guy. But the whole thing was, well, he's got to learn, and then he'll be great. Akiyama and Angle just like walked in and were like, oh my God, this guy wrestles like he's been doing it for 10 years.
How over the moon is everyone going to be if Aaron Wolf is as comparable as Bolton Oleg was 2 years into his career? You know, it's like, it's not the journey, it's the destination. Like at one point, this dude is either going to get there or he's not. And right now, I feel like he's on track to get there, and that's a good feeling. I'm
going to enjoy watching his progress and see when he adds a couple other moves and you're like, oh, he's doing that now. Okay. You know, like that.
I think he's adding to it, you know, like this is if this guy was in NXT and he was like building up his matches. We are watching from the ground up. And if he wasn't who he was and everyone was so interested in seeing this journey every step of the way, he'd be excursion and he'd be training and he'd be doing another stuff. And this just isn't the pathway for him. No. And so the spotlight is on him, and we need to just celebrate his victories because the pressure on him has just got to be so much right now.
For sure. And Jeremy's saying, how long before he doesn't look awkward skipping normal dojo time? You know, the thing, what, before he doesn't look awkward? Oh, good Lord. Come on now. He looked awkward as hell in that New Year's Dash match.
No, like that's what I'm saying. He's already looking awkward. We just have to get past it.
How long before he doesn't, though? I mean, again, varies from person to person. Keep in mind, Aaron Wolf started training last summer. Most guys are in the dojo a full year before we pop up around ringside, let alone make their debuts. Remember, we saw a bunch of guys around ringside at Wrestle Kingdom that we've never seen in the ring. And they had their shaved heads and they had their tracksuits on and all that. And we'll be seeing some of them soon because we feel like Murashima, Shamakato are on their way to graduating from being young lions, and they'll be part of this, a big part of this coming weekend. And usually you have a full year plus before you even sniff a match. And Wolf was thrown in there in 6 months when he had other responsibilities. He's still a media star. On New Year's Eve, he was on national television on a variety show. He's got a lot on his plate. It's going to take him a while.
It's a matter of how many like bumps is he going to take before he has the position, the poise, the gait. You know what I mean? Like between each move, where he'll have those smooth like walkways of knowing what to do when he's transitioning from either chain wrestling into like a move to the top rope and just understanding what needed to happen. And it just takes time, and it takes experienced wrestlers telling him each of these scenarios as it happens. And afterwards, you know, like he's going to have moments where he's going to freeze like, this wasn't in the plan. What the fuck do I do? And it like New Japan will obviously train him for that scenario of like, if this is the case, this is what you need to do. And then we'll reset and get you where you need to go in the match without feeling awkward. These things are going to happen, and we're going to critique it when it happens. But we also just need to be prepared that the expectations of everything going right at all times with this guy is completely unfair to him.
Yeah, if he has good singles matches in 2026, then he's ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
if he has good singles matches. And what they mentioned earlier when talking about guys extending their careers, sometimes being in a tag team can really help because you can do a 15-minute match and only work 6-7 minutes of it and let your partner carry the rest. And with Wolf, I think tag team matches are going to benefit him quite a bit because he can learn a few things and do a 10-minute match and work 3 or 4 minutes of it and ease himself through it. Now he's going to have singles matches. He's never open weight champion. He's going to have singles matches. They've already shown that the company is willing to put in the time to make sure he looks good and succeeds in those, which is exactly what they ought to be doing. I'm not too worried about that. His real progress is going to be in those tag matches where he gets the reps, and maybe they aren't choreographing everything for him so that he learns how to make those transitions. And we've seen it with Bolton, who was stiff as a board early in his career, and now he's more animated. He's emoting more. He moves from move to move.
If Wolf looked like what Oleg did 2 years into his career, I'd be over the moon for New Japan. Absolutely over the moon.
And Jordan for Canada would love to see Wolf and Oleg main event of Wrestle Kingdom one day, hopefully. And I'll bet if that works out for New Japan, that is going to be a very pleased company.
I'll tell you what, if they have a G1 match one day, that you'll be able to take the temperature in that room.
Yeah, I think so too. 2027 G1. How about we do that one? That'll probably be pretty good. And then Venkin mentions, I like when Rina and Hina, when they just randomly put one of those judo throws in their matches. Yeah, the twins had a lot of judo training. Hanan did too. If you imagine, all three of the sisters had judo training growing up. A lot of kids in Japan do. Judo is a fairly common, just physical activity. The same way, Taekwondo is here. A lot of people take karate classes and Taekwondo classes and things. Judo, big one in Japan. All right, so so that's the main event of Blue Justice. The rest of the card, like I mentioned, at Blue Justice is mostly preview matches. I'm taking a look to see if there's anything of note on the undercard there. But, the one is the United Empire against the new Unbound group. So Tsuji, Shingo, Hiromu, Taiji Ishimori, and Gedo facing off against Jacob Austin Young, Francesco Akira, Great-O-Khan, Callum Newman, and Jake Lee. And it's the rest of it. You can probably figure out who's winning and who's losing just by who is in it. But that's going to be Blue Justice on Sunday.
They got the Shota Yuya heater for the Ishii Taichi match, and then setting up the sixth man later on. Yeah, it's all academic. And from then, and Venkin says, "Hey, I did judo for a good while. It's nice to see the moves I recognize." Well, you know what's interesting, Venkin. I'm gonna bring this up. I hadn't thought about this in a long time, but when I was a kid, there was a family in my neighborhood. And the father of that family was fairly high up in USA judo, like almost like around the Olympic level at various points. And by the time I knew him, he had a family and had retired from competition, but was high up in judo. And one of his friends was Alan Coage, who was Bad News Brown and Bad News Allen of New Japan Foreign Talent. Sure. A lot of times, I don't know if you remember that guy, but Bad News Brown in WWF. And when WWF came to my hometown, we got to meet Bad News a little bit because they actually went out to eat with my friend's father, and Bad News Brown went out to eat after a show. And that was the first wrestler I was like right next to at some point. The first pro was right up next to was Bad News. And that was cool, but they were Alan Coage, Bad News Brown, Olympic level judo at various points in his career before he got into pro wrestling. So that was another judo tie-in. So I see some of those throws as well, and it's a kick to see somebody put them into practice like that. So I don't have a whole lot of judo familiarity other than just like
I never took a lesson or anything, but it was certainly that was not a man I would mess with. Neither Bad News or my friends.
I have enough respect for judoka not to push my luck. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, not interested in pushing any luck. No, or buttons. Nope. No.
You do judo? Nice to meet you. Have a great day.
I'll tell you one quick story though. My friend's father's a very kind man, because he didn't have to be an asshole. He could take care of himself, right? He doesn't have to be a jerk to anybody. He could take care of himself. And at this show, right? So Bad News Brown is doing the stoic, mean heel stuff, and he plays to the crowd, and he goes, yeah, he raises his fist up, and yeah, then all the crowd starts booing, and my friend's father stands up and just makes this hey thing, like starts cheering him, and Bad News makes eye contact with him and absolutely shatters his character, just starts laughing. Like has to turn away, walk away, just laughing his ass off. And everyone's looking at my friend's father. Is just like, what is going on with this? And like,
okay,
yeah. And apparently he just wasn't ready for Mr. Hooks to cheer for him in the crowd like that, and he just busted up. That was one of the few times I saw a wrestler completely break character during a match. Was he just couldn't handle that one? He just laughed. Okay.
We have a tournament.
Korakuen Hall on Monday. The next show after Chiba. Very easy trip, but that's about a 40-minute train ride, let alone a car trip over back to Korakuen Hall. January 19th. That's a Monday. We're back in the main building. So Young Lion Cup first round is in the cards here. Masatori Yasuda will face Tetsuya Matsumoto, Daiki Nagai against Zane J. Now, of course, our senior Young Lions, we mentioned them earlier, Murashima and Kato, they get a bye. So they will be wrestling the winners of these matches on the Tuesday show. So we will kick off with Yasuda versus Matsumoto, then Nagai versus J. Any thoughts on this one, Jeremy?
I'm leaning towards Yasuda and Nagai, but you could do whatever you wanted at that point because I don't think either one of them are going to move forward past the bye guys. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's very possible they're going to do this entire tournament by seniority.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Murashima got a boxing crab in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
Like, to me, he's the clear favorite and like the guy on top that, if you're gonna do something with that kind of momentum, this is probably the direction that you would go with. Is this guy got a boxing crab in the Tokyo Dome. Maybe he should win the Young Lion Cup.
What's interesting here though, Nagai has the most personality of any of them.
Yeah.
Murashima is close though, and I think Murashima might be the best current worker, but Shoma Kato, who's good at all this stuff, he's a good worker. He doesn't have the personality of Nagai, but he's not a wooden board either. He doesn't have the personality of Murashima. It's different. It's a different type of thing, but he has personality.
I don't know, man.
Shoma's the one that's been talking about this cup, so watch out for him as a dark horse.
After basically Murashima.
Oh, did we lose?
After bloodied up Ishii at New Year's Dash, I'm like, okay, you're ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
somebody else has had that kind of moment where I just looked at him and like, okay, like that was your graduation moment, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think both Kato and Murashima are going to be away from the Young Lion world after this. I think this will probably be their last Young Lion gasps, or amongst them anyway. I don't think they'll be Young Lions for much longer after that. Time to make room for new ones. We mentioned it too. I don't know what more they could really learn as Young Lions. It's time to see what they've got and with a gimmick and with either a faction or an excursion or something like that. I feel like they've accomplished all that they can do as Young Lions. Though I mean, obviously, I'm not the one doing the evaluations. It just seems to me that it's time for the next stage for them, whereas the other four still have a little bit further to go.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. It just feels like these are the guys. The guys with the buys.
The guys with the buys.
You're setting it up for a reason. There's not 8 guys, but if there were 8 guys, yeah.
All right, and then preview tags after that, and the third match will have Aaron Wolf in it. He's teaming with Desperado, Yano, Yo, and Wato this time. So the former trios champs with Despe and Wolf against House of Torture, as you would imagine. We'll get another United Empire Unbound preview, and then we're going to get 2 singles matches that pairs off the 2 teams involved in the junior heavyweight title match on Tuesday. So on Monday, it'll be Kosei Fujita versus Sho and Robbie Eagles versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. And after that, 7th match on Monday is the never open weight 6-man tag team championship match. The champions, Hartley Jackson, Ryohei Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. against Bishamon and Bolton Oleg. And I think this is going to be really good. I think this could be a terrific match because look at the 6 guys involved.
Yeah, I think it could be a banger, but also the first title defense for the current never 6-man guy. So I'm expecting a retention if I'm going to be honest here. Like it just, let's keep these guys looking strong right after losing the tag titles.
I'm intrigued by that as well, simply because if this were a trios match on any other card that didn't involve the tag team titles, you would say Hartley Jackson is going to be taking a pin here because he's the lowest guy on this totem pole of the 6. But I do think it's different that they just won the never openweight 6-man tag titles. So it adds a little bit of doubt in my head.
I think you need to. Okay, I'm going to take that back. I have changed my mindset about who they are prioritizing after Wrestle Kingdom. So in my mind, I see Ryohei Oiwa getting the win against someone like Yoshihashi in this match.
There you go.
Like I think that's where we're going with this, is where like it may not be every one of the young guys on every night, but the emphasis is going to be the next generation in a lot of these matches.
Where he maybe avoids the big karma move and hits the grip or something like that.
Yeah, I think the grip on Yoshihashi just seems like one of those things that the time is now, and they seemed very aggressive at New Year's Dash about making sure that the young talent looked strong.
I would love to see that because I think OE was ready for it.
Yeah.
And the main event on Monday will be a 1 hour time limit IWGP Tag Team Championship #1 contender match. So 1 hour time limit for this one. I don't anticipate it going anywhere near that long. It's just an interesting point. The main event's a 1 hour time limit.
I love that they made me care about a tag team contender match.
Yeah, they have. Yuya Uemura and Shota Umino against Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii. So yeah, we'll see if it's a generational battle, of course, with the winner getting a shot at the Knockout Brothers in Osaka.
Who do you got?
Oh, I'm going to be rooting for Taichi and Ishii for sentimental reasons. It's interesting because the Knockout Brothers have faced both of these teams not terribly far back in the past. So it's they won the titles from Ishii and Taichi in the first place, which is why I'm kind of there. But it feels more like another Uemura Umino match against the Knockout Brothers to me. Where are you? But I'm only like 65-35 on that.
I'm leaning Taichi and Ishii.
I would love it.
I think them putting them over one more time is kind of like this next generation is the thing. And also, if you keep Shota and Yuya away from them, like eventually they're going to win. Like they have not been able to get that win over the Knockout Brothers. And the way that New Japan is booking does not make me feel like they're going to be carrying these titles for the entire year. So if the feud is eventually that Shota and Yuya need to face off against the Knockout Brothers, you make you want it a little bit more. So I think right now it's Taichi and Ishii losing to the Knockout Brothers, and you just kind of stoke that fire just a little bit more to get Shota and Yuya in that vicinity, if that's the direction you want to go.
And Jordan from Canada mentions Knockout Brothers really won me over at the last show. Great promo. Sure was. That was one of the best post-match promos.
Now they've won me over since day one, my friend. They're beautiful. They're beautiful heels.
It was one of the best post-match promos, though, that didn't involve a legendary retirement of the last 365 days. I can't say of the year. We're only 15 days into
Passion,
it.
poise, and charisma can get you a long way, my friend.
And that is the show for Monday at Korakuen Hall. So then we will go right into Tuesday and staying in the building. And it'll be the Young Lion Cup semifinal. Shoma Kato will get the winner of Yasuda and Matsumoto. Murashima will face the winner of Nagai and Zane J. That will be the first 2 matches of that show. From there, we will get some other preview matches that are currently not announced. Right now, there are only 4 matches announced for Tuesday. I'd imagine the results from Monday will affect things on Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. You know how.
I bet Aaron Wolf will be in a match. I bet Zack Sabre Jr. will be in a match. but I don't think they'll be in a match with each other.
Correct. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles will be on the line. It's Junior Heavyweight night, Tuesday, otherwise. So, Junior Heavyweight title match, we already mentioned they'll be in singles matches the night before. Fujita and Eagles facing Kanemaru and Sho. That really feels like a retention to me, doesn't it?
Yes, and yes.
The interesting one, 60 minutes, IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, El Desperado against Doki. And if I'm going on that principle, the TMDK is retaining the titles. I feel like this is where House of Torture might get one where Doki retains against Despe, but we'll see. It's the booking has been flaky with that belt a little bit post Desperado, and like so they've had Doki win it and not really do much to defend it, and not even show up on or not even wrestle for it at Wrestle Kingdom and all this kind of stuff. But Desperado versus Doki finally in the ring there against each other for the junior heavyweight title.
So what? This is running it back from last year at Wrestle Kingdom and their match in July that they had where Doki beat Desperado for the title. So
yeah,
this is the rubber match.
I suppose so, if you want to count it like that.
I mean, I was at that Wrestle Kingdom match and I was live when Desperado won the contender, and that crowd went mild. You know what I mean? Like it was not like the pop that you'd think. People loved the Fujita entrance. They really wanted him to win. They didn't want him to lose.
Yeah.
And so I think about Desperado and Doki, and right now it's not really the hottest feud that it's ever been. It's not even really the hottest feud that's going on in the company. It's just there. And so for me, I don't think you change the title for a feud that's just there.
Yeah, it's a shame because this really should have been one of the hottest things in New Japan, but this House of Torture Doki thing just absolutely tossed a bucket of water on the fire. Just put it out. Just not
it had to be an afterthought, and I get what they're doing, and I'm glad that they're just they're going to do this match and they're going to move on because there's a lot of young talent in that junior heavyweight division, and we're going to go into a period of more or less dormancy once the New Japan Cup happens, and then we're going to be like, before we know it, the best of the Super Juniors is going to be happening in May and June. Like, we know that there are periods from here to now where the junior heavyweight title just is not a priority, and March is one of them. And then all of a sudden, title contenders kind of go out the window come April. This guy's either going to be holding the title or we're going to be having this amazing title match now. But I'm kind of the opinion that if Desperado doesn't win it here, this dude is probably holding it for the rest of until the summertime.
Could very well be. All right. Well, we'll see how that one turns out. It'll be a good match. These guys are both really good wrestlers. It's just the story has let them down. How about that? And the booking
has not been a priority given wave your hand, everything else going on. And
it's too bad because Desperado, it was Desperado and Hiroki Goto carried this company to a pretty decent first half of 2025 before things took a nosedive with terrible booking and bad decisions and everything else that happened. But
they were huge heroes to the promotion, but you can already tell that of the guys that they're building towards in the future, Yota Tsuji, the Knockout Brothers, Yuya, Shota, Desperado doesn't feel like one of those guys they're building around. He feels like one of the people. What do you got?
Well, Brad makes a good point that I was about to bring up. That of the two, Desperado has the show that's coming up. Desperado has the show themed about him. Yeah, I don't know. He said, I have a feeling Despe wins it so we can go into the Death Invitational in Las Vegas as champion.
If he goes into the champion, he can't fool around. He can't lose a random match here. On a show like that, he may end up being on every match on the card kind of thing.
I don't think he's going to do that.
When he does these shows, being the champion doesn't matter. He's going because he's Desperado. He's not going because he's IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Desperado. I kind of felt when that show was booked, it was more likely to me that he wasn't going to be champion going into it. Because I've been to shows where he's been the champion and, San Jose, he's going to have to be in the main event. He's going to have to be protected. when he has that title, the way that they're shifting their mindset on these titles, it's not just going to be like, oh, he's this title holder over here. You know, like Yota Tsuji is setting a standard, and I have a feeling the rest of these titles are going to be treated as much as they can the same way.
Remember the original Death Pain Invitational, it was all centered around him defending the junior heavyweight title around Jun Kasai. That was the theme of the show.
And that was in Korakuen Hall against Jun Kasai. I don't think we're going to have that level of, you know, like, it's not even going to be at Korakuen Hall. You know, it's just one of those things that there are factors that, to me, like, as long as you get Desperado, the tickets are selling just fine without him being a champion. Like, there's no need to make him a champion going into the Desperado Invitational in Vegas. It's not going to tip any needles whatsoever to put a belt on him going forward.
Well, we'll see. I'm not sure I totally agree on you with that. But
I don't think it matters. Personally, like
Jeremy Orr asked,
your book rec.
Okay, so they're the best book written by a wrestler. Probably Shinsuke Nakamura's King of Strong Style book. It is published as an interview, basically. So you read the question that's being posed to him, and then you read his answer. So it's not a traditional autobiography in that sense. But there's interesting stuff about that and his feelings on New Japan and how New Japan developed over time. Both not just him, his character, but also what it was like to be in the company and even before so, because he and Hiroki Goto wrestled each other in high school and things like that. So you hear a little bit of that, and then you hear about the training. You hear about the end days of Inokiism, because Nakamura was there for some of that, and then goes into the Tanahashi Nakamura Shibata boom period, and that's a good one. That's a good one as a narrative. Chris Charlton has 2 books out. One is called Eggshells, about New Japan. Eggshells just is a review of every show, New Japan and not, although New Japan has the vast majority of them, that's taken place in the Tokyo Dome. Back when the Tokyo Dome was first built, it was nicknamed the Egg Dome because it just looked like a giant egg in the middle of Tokyo. So that was one that I liked quite a bit, but that one's just a step-by-step walk through each Tokyo Dome show. So you're going to get news about a section in there about some of the K1 stuff, some of the All Japan women and all that stuff too, in addition to all the Wrestle Kingdoms and things. That goes up until just a handful of years ago. He also had one, Lion's Pride, which is a book just about a little more of the history of New Japan, lists the most influential figures and what they meant to it, some of the most popular wrestlers. So Chris Charlton's 2 books about New Japan, both he did a good job with each of them, both very thoroughly researched. And then I would say the Shinsuke Nakamura one is good. That's just specifically about a New Japan wrestler. I'll give you one more. Somebody that's a key figure in New Japan history, though. Dynamite Kid, quite a while ago now. It's probably been well over 20 years. Wrote a book called Pure Dynamite. Of course, Dynamite Kid, Tiger Mask's original rival. His book's fascinating. He's very honest. He Bret Hart's ex-wife, I'm going to go back away, just said that as great as he was in the ring, he was just as miserable a person. And that comes across in the book. You know, he doesn't really pull punches even on himself. But it's a fascinating look at a fascinating wrestler and a complicated man who is one of the key players in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Pure Dynamite by Dynamite Kid, right. Tommy Billington. Well worth a read if you are interested now. Pro wrestling work. It's interesting in one set too, because Dynamite talks about being in the WWF and how it's a work and doing all these things. He has so much respect for Japanese pro wrestling that he's sort of words everything in a way that it still might be a shoot, but he's kind of winking at you a little bit, like he won't just come out and say that he was working with Tiger Mask. Although he clearly was, no doubt about that. But that's just the respect he had for Japanese wrestling, not being as open about it being a work when he wrote the book as we see now. So just warning on that. He's not trying to make you think that wrestling is real, because he talks openly about WWF not being real. But New Japan, they weren't as open about it when he wrote the book. So he's respectful of that and kind of dances around that language than just saying, well, we worked a match, that type of thing. So, and Jordan from Canada says, I love Chris Charlton's passion for Japanese wrestling. So do I. And he does he does a good job, very well-researched books. And it's not just a rundown, the eggshells, not just a rundown of the matches. He talks about the context of them, what led them to the Tokyo Dome, where the business was at the time, why it was an important match for the company financially, for instance, what had gone on in relation to the other companies in Japan at the time. So it's a very thorough understanding of the industry.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I have not been able to read a whole lot of New Japan books in the last couple of years, just with life. And Jeremy actually asked me about these about the books, and I just kind of said, just ask Steven on the show, because
I gotcha.
I'm constantly like reading different things, but for whatever reason, the ability for me to sit down and read a full book like from end to end is one of the most impossible things in my life.
Mm-hmm. I'm currently going through Scott Teal's book on Madison Square Garden, where he systematically goes over wrestling shows in MSG from the very beginning, going back to the 1870s pro wrestling matches, going all the way through to the WWE and era and things like that. And that one's been a pretty interesting one so far, but I'm still in the 1800s. I just got started with it.
I have about a dozen books on my Kindle that are about 30% into it. And I'm just like, I'm going to get through some of these. But it's like you're downloading a bunch of stuff at the same time, and it's all just kind of log jamming, and none of them are going to download because they're all just kind of there. That's kind of what my reading list is a bunch of starts. And
I have a pretty huge wrestling book collection. I've read a lot of them, but I haven't read all of them, and I'm working my way through.
That's why you're the historian, and I'm just the guy that bullshit.
Jordan from Canada, one more comment from him right there. He says, as an AEW fan, I see them as an underdog against WWE. Yeah, certainly. But NJPW suffered so much in the growth of AEW. Love New Japan's belts, divisions, and spirit. Hopefully they can hit their stride again soon. Well, yeah, and of course we agree. Certainly we're rooting for New Japan to do well this year. And Jeremy, I'm holding on to what we said in the wake of Wrestle Kingdom this year, which is, okay, it's not something that can happen overnight. Wrestle Kingdom did not fix all their problems by any means at all. There have been signs that some of the decision-making is a little bit better than it was in 2025. And I was sweating a few things. We'll see, because New Beginning is going to tell us a lot, and we're not out of the woods. But there were a couple of encouraging signs that maybe they learned some lessons from some of the numbskull decisions of 2025. And my eyes are peeled, hoping that trend continues.
New Japan is a big dog. AEW is a bigger dog. WWE is the biggest dog in the yard. And they all have their different territories that they do. And, the overlap between WWE and AEW kind of overtakes everything else. Like their battles just kind of spill into other territories. It's pretty sobering to know that New Japan is, at the mercy of what these two other companies decide to do with some of the talent that they value, not being available in order to maximize the stories that they want to tell. I think that there is a middle ground for everyone to survive and thrive, but there are mentalities in this business that do not allow that to permeate. I think New Japan in 2026 has a pathway to doing real success and having real momentum, but frankly requires having a roster that is available to them for the majority of the year. Yeah. And so you have to prioritize that. You cannot be constantly booking guys like Andrade and Takeshita if they are not available to you at all the crucial junctures that you are going to need to maximize them being in the G1. And I'm not saying that they are, but I would assume Andrade and Takeshita are both two names that you strongly have to consider being in the pool for the G1 this year. If we're doing Chicago and they're part of the plan to January, like if they're not part of the plan in July, something has gone very, very wrong, according to the plan. They shouldn't be what you're building around, but they should be what you're using to build up. And you have to prioritize the guys that are going to be there for the entirety of the year, because the fans need to get behind people that they know that when the next time they buy their ticket, that person's going to be there again.
Absolutely. And War Hero says the Fale needs to make Ren Narita the new leader of House of Torture. I agree. I think there's a babyface running evil that's coming someday. I just think there is. This could be my version of Jeremy feeling like Bolton was going to join Bullet Club any day for a couple of years. It could be like I'm trying to manifest this. I didn't make the Shota Umino Uemura.
Dream is officially dead with Bullet Club being dead.
Yeah, well, that's never going to happen, I guess. But but it's an interesting point. I think at some point he should be. And I think at some point he probably will be. If that G1 final taught us anything, that there's a babyface running evil somewhere in there. And Venkin's asking, New Beginning is the 8th. It's actually February 11th. New Beginning's on a Wednesday. New Beginning in Osaka is going to be on a Wednesday.
Going to make it real easy to watch.
Yeah, it'll make it real easy to watch. But there's not a whole lot of time passed before we get to talk about it. Sometimes Sunday to Thursday is a little awkward. But Venkin says Takeshita has a deal, right? Yeah, he's still under contract with both companies. And by the way, sneaky thing you mentioned as far as who the biggest dog in the yard is, second biggest dog in the yard is Mexico City, CMLL. Bigger than AEW, bigger than
ticket maker, ticket taker.
Yeah, and they're starting to do dual contracts, as I just saw. Persephone and Mascara Dorada are going to be working for both them and AEW.
Hechicero, I believe, too.
Hechicero? Well, I mean, they're picking the
right. He was already there, but he got the graphic. When you get the graphic, it's official. It's
hard to argue with the guys he's picking, man. Those are some of the best.
It's like your Instagram official, like you're a couple now.
Well, and the thing is with CMLL, it's less complicated than Japan for a lot of reasons. One, the biggest night of the week for CMLL is an off night for AEW. So you can make Dynamite and CMLL not miss a thing. Not true with New Japan. We saw this all last year where Takeshita was just gone for long stretches. Mm-hmm. Doesn't work the same way. When in North America, you are on different nights and flights that don't involve 12-hour time spent in a plane and jet lag and all that stuff. It's a much different animal being under contract to both. I think this could really work out well for both companies. And the fans do seem to be enjoying some of the AEW stars coming in. And the fans in AEW, I mean, Mascara Dorada, Templario, Hechicero, those are terrific wrestlers. So,
I mean, you say that you hope that it works great for both of these companies, Steven. I hope it works fantastic for these companies.
Well, we will see a lot of those New Japan or CMLL guys in New Japan.
Fantastic Mania is coming. Yeah. I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite weeks in New Japan, and when the CMLL guys all show up and they just have a blast.
Yeah, Jeremy says they have to keep WWE out of Japan. Yeah, that's. I don't know. It's funny how that's died down post TKO a little bit. And it's only because I don't think TKO is going to own WWE for a whole lot longer anyway. So I think I still think they're fattening the goose to sell it to the Saudis and all that. And then I don't know how much the Saudis are interested in Japanese wrestling. So maybe that'll be the one thing that works in New Japan's favor from that whole deal. But
I'm watching less WWE than I ever have in my life. So whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much the same here. Yeah. And Jeremy also says that he has the Gorilla Monsoon book, but hasn't started yet. That's a real good one, written by Brian Solomon, by the way. It's called Irresistible Force. It's
on my Audible. Monsoon. Still not listened to yet.
It's that's a fascinating man. And for a while, the guy that was going to take over the WWF before Vince, the current Vince McMahon got hold of it. And also a big factor in Japanese pro wrestling from before New Japan and All Japan were things, when it was still the JWA with a little bit just around and after Ricky Dozan's murder was the thing there. But Gorilla Monsoon, a key figure in Japanese wrestling, and fascinating guy. Really good book by Brian Solomon. Again, another guy that really knows his stuff and does a lot of the good research. So that's terrific. I'm glad you have it. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
What else we got?
Okay, new beginning in the United States. We do have some more names. Okay. One more for Jordan in Canada. He said, if you don't mind me asking, what was your favorite 5-year period in New Japan history? 5-year period. You know what? 5 years, if you're going to take 5 years, might well be 20. What would that make that? 2015 through 2019?
Yeah, 2015 to 2020.
And the other one I will say is about 1992 to 97. 92 to 97,
Yeah, that
that run
96
with
show that we did. Let's talk about that for a sec.
okay, the Top Rope Nation thing. But those two areas, so we're talking in the 90s, that's the boom period with Kaiji Muto and Shinya Hashimoto, Masahiro Chono, and when Jushin Thunder Liger and Eddie Guerrero as the Black Tiger and El Samurai were having Great Sasuke having blow away matches. Well, Liger and Ultimo Dragon right here. Blow away matches on the undercard. I mean, the top to bottom, those shows were brilliant. And then we saw the boom period that came just before the pandemic hit. And from that 90s period, Jeremy, we just did a show with our friends at Top Rope Nation discussing one of the key matches from that era.
Yeah, it may be a Patreon post. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I
believe it was.
Jesse Velasquez brought us on to talk about the 1996 event at the Tokyo Dome on January 4th called Wrestling World. And we were primarily talking about the Inoki versus Vader match. And the funny story about this podcast is getting to Steven ready for this show. And we're queuing up before the thing. And Steven thinks that we're talking about their match in the 80s that set off this entire feud.
Well, I thought it was Vader's debut in 1987. They're talking about, so Vader versus Inoki. The first thing that jumps to my mind is when Vader squashed Inoki in his big debut. And then I get there and it says, okay, we're talking about 1996. And I was like, oh, that Vader Inoki match. Okay.
So this dude is like panicking for maybe like 2 minutes. Just kind of like, the eyes are kind of darting around on the screen, and we're having
the mental Rolodex was going through. I was like, okay,
and then all of a sudden, it's like the dude has the slingshot like thing, and the pebble hits his brain, and it all just like comes back to him. And then we record for like an hour, and this dude is like a steel trap talking about all of the New Japan lore from like the 80s and the 90s and everything that you got from that Dave Meltzer interview that we did where these two were just going back and forth talking about historical stuff. It was the same thing here. And it was just a really fun conversation that we had about the parallels of 96 New Japan and the things that are happening nowadays. And if you guys feel like you want to go down that history lesson, go check out the Top Rope Nation feed, and you might be able to find it. I'm not 100% sure, but I know
it might be a Patreon episode, but nevertheless, yeah, it was fun to do. And yeah, it took me about 30 seconds to shift my mind from 1987 to 1996. Like, okay, wait a minute. I got to think about what was going on. Okay, that was the UWFI thing. And that was when Muto was in it.
And just watching him just like, okay, it was like pulling out one game card on the Switch and putting another one in. He's like, okay, now I'm good. And you're just like, okay, cool. Well, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. The only other one I can think of 5-year period there, man, I did enjoy like 83 to 87 was pretty great stuff. 80, yeah, that's 4 in it. So go ahead to go on to 88, but that run there in the 80s,
2015, 2020.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan coming over as the number one foreigner, and Inoki and Sakaguchi was still a thing, and Kengo Kimura was the main event. There was some good stuff there too.
I just like the idea of Chris Jericho ruining the entire era and it ending right there.
I don't think that's what happened.
Well, no, I mean, like when you got to the 2020 Wrestle Kingdom, that was the Tanahashi, I think, Chris Jericho match, or it might have been 2021, but still, either way, it was just kind of like, yeah, this feels like the end of the golden era.
Jeez, that's stiff. Yeah, well, I mean, the pandemic shot that dead. I mean, that's the thing. I've talked about it so much.
We were talking about the Tanahashi stuff, right?
Yeah,
I was recapping everything. I was watching, he had that Wrestle Kingdom match with Kenny Omega, and it just felt like that was the last big Wrestle Kingdom match he had until the Okada finale. Mm-hmm. All of the other ones were like with Jericho and with Kenta, and they were fine, but they weren't they were down the card. They were whatever. Jericho winning, whatever. Like it just it felt like I was being glib, but it felt like the era was over when you had stuff like Tanahashi having these okay-ish matches, putting guys over that aren't part of the territory. You know what I mean? Like there was just kind of that. All right, it just feels like the golden age is not quite what it was.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yeah, that the Dome that year almost full. They almost filled it, and then lost every bit of that momentum. And Jordan from Canada mentions the UWF feud. Good grief, guys. NJPW World Archives. Go back to 87 or so, or something like that. 86. Anyway, go ahead and look it up. Any UWF versus New Japan, and the crowd heat, just wild, rabid crowds for that. They were so into all that with Maeda and all that stuff coming over, that shoot promotion coming back. There were two different ones. There's UWFI in the 90s and UWF in the 80s. Especially the one in the 80s when it's like Inoki going against this other company, and they sold it brilliantly as the interpromotional thing, which they mentioned that the interpromotional matches were the last vestiges of kayfabe, because the only thing people believed into the 1990s, Jeremy, was that there was heat between the promotions. The last thing the fans believed was that wrestlers from one company hated the wrestlers from other company, or one company hated the other, because it was true for the most part. It was frequently true. So when they did put that stuff aside and work out some sort of plan, if you did it correctly, one of the last things that drew money in USWA Memphis, one of the last things that drew money for Smoky Mountain Wrestling was the USWA versus Smoky Mountain feud, because people believed it. People believed that these guys didn't like each other. And so anyway, go back to the archives there, UWF versus New Japan. And you want to see some crowd heat, boy, those fans were just insane for that stuff. It was just some crazy, crazy crowd heat. Fun stuff.
All right, let's take it home with this lineup of people that are showing up for this show.
Yeah, I want to say thanks for all the interaction today here. But New Beginning, and that's just going to go February 27th, Trenton, New Jersey. We know we have the Knockout Brothers. We know we have probably global title defense from Yota Tsuji. Probably.
Look at that title on him. Look at that title.
Oh, it's beautiful. And David Finlay is going to be there. We also have more names. Shuri is going to be there. So the new double champ, NJPW Strong Champion, and the IWGP Joshi Champion. Shuri will be there. We're also going to have Bolton. Ishii will be there. Desperado will also be there. The no matches quite announced.
We got one.
For that.
We got one.
No, yeah, there is one. It's Takeshita versus El Phantasmo for the TV title. What do you think of that?
I think we're going to a time limit draw.
You think so? Could very well be.
I think we're going to a time limit draw, and frankly speaking, there are dynamics that make no sense to me in New Japan and AEW. One being the Don Callis family, with Andrade being in United Empire, and then you have this guy, the Don Callis family, like having nothing to do with any of the other factions. So I think something's going to have to break there, and I do think Takeshita is breaking away from the Don Callis family. If that happens, Takeshita is going to need a friend, and El Phantasmo's last friend just retired. So I would not be surprised if Takeshita and Phantasmo end up being frenemies, besties, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they've done their feud. They've wrestled each other many, many times. I can see them being allies moving forward.
War Hero is asking, is David Finlay coming to WWE? I think they're talking. We'll see if they come to a financial agreement, but could very well be. I don't think anyone's decided anything yet, including either of those two sides. I think they're talking about money.
I have heard rumors, and the rumors that I've heard seem to suggest that David Finlay will likely be staying with New Japan.
There you go. And one other thing here, Jeremy, can we get New Japan to actually spell the name of Konosuke correctly both times? We've got it. They got it right in blue, but not in white. Take a hit at it.
It's like they're making fun of my lisp with the
and Jordan says ELP I really enjoy. Yeah, I do too. And this is going to be a terrific match, and these two are going to work well together.
But if it goes 15 minutes and there's no winner, are you going to be shocked?
No. But Takeshita, he says, Jordan says, could be the best athlete in pro wrestling today. He's certainly one of the best workers when he wants to just buckle down and have a great match. He's one of the best at doing so. So
I came
all
very
right.
close to buying a pair of ELP shades in Japan. They were very expensive.
Oh, were they? Yeah, bummer. All right, yeah.
Some of that stuff probably like $85 to buy.
$85. Riley,
what are you doing? There's a lot of LED stuff going on there. It was like something like 13,000 yen.
And so they actually light up. I mean, they actually do what his.
Oh yeah, I was at the Halloween mask shop and I saw them in person with the case, with the El Phantasmo logo, with everything there. I was very tempted to buy them.
Yeah, I would have too. I would have been tempted at least for sure. Yeah. All right. So when we come back next week, we'll be back at our regular time, Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern in the United States. And we will be talking about all three of these shows and the aftermath of them. We'll be previewing what comes ahead. There's not a whole lot left in the month on NJPW World. There's a couple of boat race events that we'll talk about. And those are usually mini shows because they're part of a whole other thing that's going on. It's not just a card of wrestling. There's a whole festival going on, and they have a few matches that's coming up.
Untelevised shows on like the 28th.
Yeah, some Road 2 stuff that isn't going to be on TV. So yeah.
So after the 20th, those three shows that we have, we're basically going another week without. We're having another chit chat week. And Jordan, you're invited.
Yes, please. And and with Brad and Jordan saying nice things to us, appreciate that very much. And yeah, I enjoyed this because it was a chance for us to kick around a few topics that we don't normally get to, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
One more thing, I did get a chance to listen to the other podcasters that I met in Japan, and I thought each one of them keeping it strong style. Had a great recap of their time that came out this past week. Still haven't finished all of We Weren't Stiff's 12 hours of content that they provided over the course of the last 3 weeks of going before and after Wrestle Kingdom. Their Tanahashi retrospective, something like 8 hours, and then they did other things. But I really wanted to shout out the Super J-Cast, Joel's recap of his time there. I thought it was an absolutely tremendous description of what it was like to be at the Tokyo Dome. I was exhausted when Steven grilled me that morning after when we did the live show. I literally do not remember a whole lot of what I said on that show. All I know is that I was being honest and authentic in the moment because that's all I could do. But Joel's recap of January in Tokyo was absolutely fantastic, and I really enjoyed listening to it when I did.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad. And by the way, though, the only other thing I wanted to mention here, that there is another X coming to a Noah show teaming with Bushi and Naito. A lot of people figure that that's going to be Sonata.
It's not Sonata, guys. It's not Sonata. Just he's going away and he might not come back. This is the injury stuff, and just wish him the best.
Whole lot of supposing going on. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on all that as well.
It's probably Ryusuke.
I don't think it's going to be Taguchi
No. Ryusuke is their young boy.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Oh, well, Yasuda's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yasuda's twin brother would be a good one.
Eventually they're going to have to put that guy in the ring, and he keeps coming out, and they keep teasing him. Eventually, making him an X that you're looking forward to is either going to be a really good idea or a really bad idea. But I don't think it's an idea that they've discounted.
Hey, in 5 years, we might be pining for a Yasuda versus Yasuda dream match someday.
I want Tiger Mask versus Black Tiger with those two wearing the mask. And that's my new Bolton and Bullet Club.
All right.
As one dream dies, another dream rises.
and thus is the circle of life. All right. So we will be back next week to talk about what happened to Blue Justice. We'll be talking about Korakuen Hall and anything else that comes up. There's going to be something. So with that in mind, I want to thank everybody that joined us here. Terrific interaction today, guys. Really appreciate your comments and jumping in. To everybody who watches this later, we're grateful for your time. Everyone that listens to this as a podcast, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next Thursday. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
I second everything that guy just said.